Mr. Sergeant at Arms, invite the members into the chamber and close the doors. I hereby declare the House of Representatives of the 113th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee now in session. Will the members please stand? Will the visitors in the gallery please stand and remain standing through the Pledge of Allegiance? Representative Garrett will introduce our chaplain of the day. Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I'm honored today to have a pastor from Long Hollow, and I'm going to tell a quick story, so I hope you indulge me on this, on why I asked him here. Faith is defined in many different ways. It's as simple as complete trust or confidence in someone or something. Faith is also can be a strong belief in God or in the doctrines of religion based upon the spiritual apprehension rather than proof. And that's why I want to focus on that apprehension of faith. Faith is difficult. Faith is hard. Once you receive it, once you welcome it, once you accept it, once you realize that God sent his son here for us, or whatever religion that you speak to, whatever religion speaks to you, I'm a Christian, I'm a believer. Faith can be difficult. My faith, at times, I've not been good at. It's been difficult to walk that life of what faith means to me, what faith means to my wife, what faith means to my kids, what faith means to all of you. Because it's that apprehension of faith. It's not tangible. It's not something we can prove. How can I demonstrate to you that I love my wife? How can I say that? How can I demonstrate that? How can I prove that? Other than looking at her who's standing to my left and still getting chill bumps when I see her and knowing that lightning still strikes me when I'm in her presence. I can't prove that to you. Faith is difficult. Growing up, I grew up in the Baptist church. I met my wife. She was Methodist. Like many of you, I became a Methodist. And at times, we joined a Methodist church and we struggled with, not necessarily because it was a Methodist church, but just struggling getting involved, struggling for the message, struggling to make sure that we walk that faith, that we talk that faith, that we can demonstrate those that may never have received it to one day enjoy the life that faith can bring. I wasn't living up to my faith. 2 years ago, my daughters are here. They're to my left, Addie and Elle. I'll introduce them when we get welcoming and honoring. They're going to be my pages today. It was important for me to have them here for this reason, because often in your walk of faith, we also want to be good parents. We want to demonstrate that example to our kids that they look up to us. They expect us to do everything right, but we're broken. We're not perfect. And we do things that sometimes demonstrate that it's not the best for them, right? And that's the way I felt with my struggles with my faith and demonstrating that to the best of my ability. One day, Ella and Addie decided to go to another church, Long Hollow Church, with some friends. When we usually go, they don't bring their Bibles, and they're kind of like me, and within 5 minutes, I'm, sleeping or waking up, trying to be focused. And I noticed they tend to do the same thing, right? So they go to Long Hollow with a friend, and Ella, my 16-year-old that's to my left, comes home and says, "Dad, I was absolutely blown away at what is happening at Long Hollow Church where I live." What do you mean? Absolutely blown away. Since we've been going to church, I've never seen her, I don't want to say never, but rarely would I see her dive into her Bible, read the passages, try to understand what that great book does for us, for her to live that life of faith. And I realized after attending Long Hollow for a couple of weeks, she was making notes. My other daughter called on Addie, who's standing next to Ella to my left. We're making notes in the margins of her Bible. And in Robbie's preaching style, for lack of a better word, he says, take notes, you need to hear this. And he's talking to young folks. Young folks much younger than me, but he's also talking to us. He's also talking to folks much older than me. And it was absolutely blown away. And so my wife and I, what's all that about? What's my issue with walking my faith? Who's talking to me? Why are my daughters coming home from this church I don't know that is blown away by what she's hearing and seeing and writing notes on in her Bible? What is that about? What's talking to me? See, my faith was grabbing my heart and squeezing it, and grabbing my wife's heart and squeezing it, and saying, we got to figure what's going on. So we went. We went to Long Hollow. We were absolutely blown away. Not just by being there and seeing what was happening, but seeing the response, seeing those that Robbie would baptize every day, seeing those that would walk the faith and just give it over, knowing that it's not us that guides us through our walk of life today, that there is something at the end of the road, and it's salvation with our Lord and Savior. We say that a lot, but to see it happening, to see his presence that we can't prove. So, with all of that, and in my struggle in this walk of faith, in a way, I feel redeemed. I feel so powerful when I walk into his church. My dad died 16 years ago as my best friend, and I think that's when my faith started an alternate course, for lack of a better word, on questioning, being mad at God for taking my dad away, or as my best friend. No explanation, just woke up one day and he was dead. And to walk into a place to feel so welcoming with what I went through, to hear what you're about to hear from Robbie and what he went through. Robbie, from today's standards, at a $350 day heroin and cocaine addict 20 years ago. Grew up in a Catholic family, like many of us do. A normal family. Stole from his father. His father had I think a collision business where they were from. He has his testimony that he gave several weekends ago at church about his life and how he was addicted to drugs. Got out, has now 3 divinity degrees, has a church that on Easter Sunday he spoke 6 or 7 times to 14,000 people in person at his church, not even including the amounts of people he reaches online. They have a goal to be in every prison across the United States to share the word with those that are in the worst case scenarios that you could possibly imagine, that they might see the light. We are truly lucky to stand here before you, before God, whoever you answer to walk that line of faith. And I'm truly honored that we have a man here that can talk to young folks, middle-aged folks, old folks, and make that connection to make sure their walk of faith is apprehension-free, that there is something at the end of the road that you will face. And it's that salvation to live with our Father forever. So with that, I'm honored today to stand with you and hope that the words that he has today, if you are ever struggling, if you know anyone that's struggling, know that the answer will come. And I'll be forever grateful. I'll be forever grateful to my daughters for allowing me to go with them to Long Hollow. Ladies and gentlemen, members, Pastor Robbie.
Thank you, Representative Garrett. I'm still trying to figure out who he's talking about, to be honest with you. I like to say if there's any good, it's all God. Amen. The Lord radically saved me 21 years ago. In fact, this Wednesday will be 21 years that the Lord Jesus has set me free from heroin, cocaine, and alcohol. And I went to rehab twice. The reason I did it twice is because I tried to do it without Jesus Christ. And I wasn't really raised in a relationship with Christ, but I was desperate. And when you're desperate, you'll do anything for salvation. You talked about a couple things. I just say before I got 10 minutes, right? I'm playing. It's like when your preacher goes long, you're like, maybe we got to get out. No, I say two things that come to mind, just kind of piggybacking. And I'm so thankful for you, brother. What an example to lead your home and lead by example. I would say two things to you. You talked about faith, and this is what just the Holy Spirit brought to mind. My favorite definition of faith, I want to give it to you. Faith is believing that it's so when it's not so because God said so that it could be so. I like that. Believing that it's so when it's not so. See, I don't know how this works, but there is an inextricable connection in the Bible between your faith and God's power. How many times did Jesus go to a place and he couldn't do miracles because of the lack of faith of the people? What could God do in this place when men and women start believing a big God to do big things in our city, in our community, in our state? I wasn't always from Tennessee. You mentioned I was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I tried to work on my accent for the past 21 years, but it kind of slips when I say New Orleans. I've been in Tennessee for over 16 years with my wife, Candy, and we were in Chattanooga for 7 years and then have come here. I want to leave you with this, and I really think this will resonate with anyone and everyone in here. There are only 3 institutions that God ordained in the Bible. Do you know that? Only 3. The first one is the home. That's something he gave us, particularly as men, to watch over, but women as well. The second one is the church. And the third one is the government. And so in a real sense, you as a representative have a similar role that I do. We were laughing, we've got people who love us. And I've heard at times there are people that hate us at times. Anybody know are critical of us. We like to call those people those precious souls for whom Christ died. But here's the reality I want to leave with you. It's very easy to sacrifice your first church, which is the home, on the altar of the government. It is very easy to sacrifice the first church of your home on the altar of ministry. And so I want to leave you with this. When you stand before the Lord Jesus one day, he's not going to ask you how big your congregation was, how big your constituency was. He could care less about your bank account or your possessions. He's going to ask you, I'm certain, how well did you minister to your family? Let's pray. Lord, your word says to be still and know that you are God. You don't speak in the wind or the fire or the storm or the tornado, God. You speak, your word says, in a whisper, a still, small voice. And so I'm going to ask you now, God, to lower the voices in our mind, to lower the influences in our community, and let us hear clearly from you. For we need it now more than ever before, God. We need it because we need to have a word fitly spoken, and we need to live out that word by faith. And I'm asking right now, embolden, empower these men and women that they would be examples of you to their community and in their districts when they go back to, and they would realize that they need to serve you not just when everyone's looking, but you're watching when no one's looking. And you're trying to determine if you can trust us behind the scenes so that you can entrust us with much in front of all people. We love you, Jesus. We ask it today in the only name we know how. And that is the strong and powerful name of Jesus Christ. And everyone said, amen. God bless you guys. Thank you.
Representative Garrett will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention, salute, pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Roll call.
Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Speaker, 97 members present.
Let the journal reflect that Representatives Travis and Faison are excused. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Welcoming and honoring.
Speaker Sexton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, thank you all for, hopefully this is our last day of session. But I would like to ask the Sergeant of Arms to escort our guests to the chamber, please.
Mr. Sergeant at Arms, escort our guests into the chamber. Speaker Sexton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request the clerk read the resolution.
Mr. Clerk, please read the resolution.
House Joint Resolution 237 by Speaker Sexton, a resolution to recognize and commend Vanilla Feeds Tomorrow, Inc. Whereas it is a privilege of the members of this General Assembly to pay tribute to those exemplary organizations and their remarkable proprietors who work with purpose and conviction to improve the quality of life in their respective communities. And whereas one such organization is Vanilla Feeds Tomorrow, Inc., which was founded in 2020 by the precocious and enterprising William Cabanis, whose desire to feed the hungry has been realized through his outstanding nonprofit organization. And whereas the problem of hunger had always concerned Mr. Cabanis, when he realized that some of his classmates sometimes went without food, he was inspired to donate bananas, his favorite fruit, to a local food pantry, along with monetary donations from his allowance. And whereas as he got older, he began volunteering at a soup kitchen through his grandmother's church and at Second Harvest Food Bank of East Tennessee. And whereas during the COVID-19 quarantine, William Cabanis came across a news segment that highlighted the long lines of food banks across the country and the need for monetary donations to help meet the increasing demands for food. Afterward, when he was in the kitchen making his vanilla brownies, he had the idea to make and sell vanilla extract to support food banks in need. And whereas at the age of only 14, Mr. Cabanis founded Vanilla Feeds Tomorrow, Inc., a 501c3 that donates 100% of its profits to the Second Harvest Food Bank of East Tennessee. And whereas this phenomenal organization and its good works were made possible by the compassionate vision and focused intention of a young man who desired to make difference in his community. And whereas Vanilla Feeds Tomorrow continues its important benevolent mission, improving the lives of countless East Tennesseans, now therefore be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 113th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, the Senate concurring, that we recognize and commend Vanilla Feeds Tomorrow, Inc. and the founder, William Cabanis, for their ongoing commitment to alleviating hunger in East Tennessee, extending our deepest gratitude for their important work.
Speaker Sexton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, the privilege of having presentations is to honor members of our community who do outstanding work. And a lot of times under welcome and honoring, we also honor the memories of individuals who have done wonderful things in our community. And so as I've known this family and watched them, and I thought it was a great opportunity to honor someone of the next generation who saw something, decided to do something, and has made it into something that has helped thousands of Tennesseans. And so it brings us great hope that our future is still alive and well with the next generation. And so I want to make sure that we honored William today so that we know that we can feel secure in what we're doing here and knowing what we're doing to help future generations and what our leaders in the future would look like. Mr. Speaker, I would like to recognize William for a few words, please.
You're recognized, William.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to be here, and I'm very grateful for the results we've been able to have in East Tennessee. Helping those in Tennessee is important to me, and thank you again for letting me be here, and thank you for the work that all of you do here. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, will you join us for a picture, please?
Speaker Sexton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask the two leaders and the one chairman's not here, and Chairman Clemens to join me in the well for this one, please, if you don't mind. Members, it's an honor today. We had someone who surprised us today to come, this so we don't give away who it is. But let me say, we like to honor people who have played roles in our body and in the House side for their service to our state. And at this time, this person is going to be totally surprised and may not come out, but I need the Sergeant of Arms to escort Miss Kim to the well.
Speaker Sexton, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the rules be suspended for the immediate consideration of House Joint Resolution 1504, please.
Mr. Clerk, please read the caption.
House Joint Resolution 1504 by Speaker Sexton and others, a resolution to honor Kim McCaster Cox on the occasion of her retirement from the General Assembly.
Without objection, those rules are suspended. Speaker Sexton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Clerk, could you read the resolution as a whole, please?
Mr.
Before we
Clerk.
had, I think that I appreciate the body's unanimous support in this endeavor. Thank you.
Whereas it is appropriate that we should pay tribute to those legislative employees whose commitment to excellence and dedication to public service have brought untold benefits to the citizens of this state. And whereas Kimberly McCaster Cox is one such exemplary employee of the House of Representatives and the state of Tennessee. And whereas appointed Assistant Chief Clerk of the House of Representatives in 2017, Kim Cox is the first African-American to hold the position. And whereas Kim Cox is an integral part of the House Clerk's office, serving on the Legislative Intern Committee, overseeing the development of the electronic message system and the electronic script program, directing the PAGE program, coordinating pastors of the day, and organizing presentations under welcoming and honoring in the House orders of business. And whereas Kim Cox has always been a steady hand for the House of Representatives in helping members bring and present their distinguished constituents to the chamber for recognition. And whereas a constant source of understanding, Kim Cox epitomizes what it means to be the calm on the House floor. And whereas Kim Cox has served as the legislature's matchmaker and therapist, no matter your status as an intern, staff member, or House member, she provides a shoulder to cry on and is always ready with relationship advice. And whereas like a Boy Scout and an assistant chief clerk must always be prepared, and Kim thrives in this area, be it correcting a fashion faux pas or tackling a gift wrap emergency. And whereas if shoes or bags are not what you need, Ms. Cox is an accomplished cosmetologist and can style your hair with expertise using her trusted flat irons. And whereas Kim Cox lives by the dubious but courageous creed, if you're going to get cussed out, you might as well do what you want. And whereas Ms. Cox refuses to preside over House session from the clerk's microphone because her voice, like Sade's, is too sexy for session. And whereas a native of Shelby County, Kim Cox is proud to be from the 901. And whereas Kim Cox holds a Bachelor of Science degree from Middle Tennessee State University and a master's degree from Trevecca Nazarene University. And whereas a member of several social clubs and charitable organizations, she is an integral part of the community and a mentor to many. And whereas Kim Cox is a connoisseur of fine foods, if a new restaurant had a grand opening today, she would have somehow already visited it twice. And she would definitely have strong opinions on the cuisine. And whereas a lover of cupcakes and fine dining, Kim Cox detests pizza unless it is of the gourmet variety. She is also known throughout the land for her strong brunch game. And whereas Miss Cox surely holds the Guinness World Record for most hours logged on the phone with her insurance health coach, as she enjoys this intrusive experience more than most. And whereas a fashionista at heart, Kim Cox has a pair of shoes to match every outfit she owns. They are all stored under her desk or behind the well. And she has the ability to change them out at a moment's notice. And whereas in addition to her extensive shoe collection, Miss Cox is renowned for a plethora of bags for any occasion. And whereas the house clerk's office will never be the same without the guidance and wisdom of Kimberly McCaster Cox, now therefore be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 113th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, the Senate concurring, that we honor Kim McCaster Cox on the occasion of her retirement from the General Assembly.
Speaker Sexton, you recognize.
Thank you, Ms. Speaker. And before I move adoption, let's just say everybody who votes in the affirmative, can you add them as co-prime sponsor, please? Thank you. Ms. Speaker, I move adoption of House Joint Resolution 1504, please.
Speaker Sexton moves adoption of HJR 1504, properly seconded. Any objections to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of HJR 1504, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member cast their vote? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 97, no nays.
HJR 1504 having received a constitutional majority, I declare it adopted without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Mr. Speaker, you recognize.
Thank you, Ms. Speaker, and members. Thank you for this. We had to get it by her since she approves all of your presentations. So there is some things that we can still do that she does not know. But let me just say, it's been an honor getting to know Ms. Kim and everything that she has done for us, whether you have known it or not known it, and the type of person that she is and what she stood for and how she made this a better place. And I will defer to anyone in leadership who else would like to make comments, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I texted Kim this morning to ask her were there any floor presentations. And she did not answer me because she didn't know about this floor presentation, but I'm honored to know you, Kim. You, when I got here in 2008, just welcomed me, helped me learn the ropes quickly. And from time to time, you'll come over and check on me. Are you all right? Do you need anything? I've been, blessed to have had the flat iron done on my hair, preparing for something. She said, "Oh, honey, we got to get you right." And I come in here, I got my flat iron. That was true. But when I'm around you, I think about the great Honorable Lois DeBerry, because her spirit lives in you, and all those things that she did and invested in us, I see them in you, and you do the same thing. You invest in people, you see them, and you understand kind of what they need at that time. You have this thing about you to be able to read and understand that, and then support them, invest in them, coach them, train them, mentor, whatever it is. You just have, God has blessed you with that. and you have demonstrated it in a way that is accepting. When she come to you, you accept what that is and make that course correction because it's for your good. And so we really appreciate that. All the years you have, I've known you, but how many years is this? 30 years that she's been serving. And so I'm honored to have been 16 years of that. And I look forward to, still meeting, talking, discussing with you in your retirement. And I know you didn't want this, but I know that Lois would not let me sleep if we didn't take the moment to honor you for your commitment and service to this state. So it's an honor to know you're welcome. I love you.
Come on. Come on up our next, Miss Kim. You have been a friend and a colleague and a confidant. You've never offered me the assistance of the flat iron. I don't know what's up with that, but I've never been offered to that. But I will say this: what many of y'all probably do not know is for any time that any of us have come up here to the well, and we might have been a little heated about something, might have been tore up about some sort of political thing or partisan thing or strategic thing or whatever. Miss Kim would sometimes just lay her hand on your arm. And if you've had this happen to you, you know what I'm talking about, all right? And she'll look at you, and for me, she'll say, "Now, Mr. Leader." And it was always, for me, look, you see, she gave me that look. For me, it was hey, take a breath. Love on folks. Just remember where you are. Remember why you're here. And Miss Kim, it has meant the world to me. And some of those little small moments where you've just forced us all, and me personally, to just take a breath, go out there and try to do the right thing. And you have influenced this body in ways that I cannot describe. And I'm sure you know. You will be deeply missed. You will be dearly loved for the rest of your life and all of ours. And we will miss you. Thank you for your service, ma'am. Thank you.
Well, this is going to be hard because I was surprised today too. So I don't appreciate that. I know you started in the 901, but you ended up in District 55, and I'm greatly appreciative of that. I can't say or add much more than it's already been said or in that resolution. I'm still trying to get past that shot A line. But I just have one story. And when I first started up here, like many of you, kind of wondering what in the world was going on, what I was gonna do, how this floor worked. And my assistant at the time that I was blessed with, Deborah Webb, I asked her, I said, "Deborah, I get to the floor and I don't know what's going on. What am I gonna do?" And she looked at me, she put her hand on my shoulder and she said, "Honey, if you need anything, you just go ask Miss Kim and she'll take care of you." And I'm very sad that future members of this body are not going to have Miss Kim to take care of them like you have all of us and given us counsel and peace and guidance. And I think we are all, I think I fairly speak on behalf of everyone, we're eternally grateful for you, your service to the state of Tennessee, and each one of us individually. You have truly made a difference in Tennesseans' lives. So thank you very much.
Amen.
No, I do know enough. There is no way she's going to speak. So let me just say, Lois will get her. Let me just say, Ms. Kim, thank you. The amount of grace that you have shown each member is amazing all in itself. But you are always welcome back here at any time. And we are going to miss you, but we do know that there's other things that you're determined to do in your life, and we look forward to seeing what happens. Members, if you would all join us up here so we can get one big group picture, please.
Amen.
Welcome and honoring Representative Towns. You're recognized.
Mr. Speaker and members, let me have your attention, please. Certainly, this is a great day of recognition. It's certainly hard to follow behind Kim Cox and the beautiful things and testament that we said about her, which are all true. Kim, you know we love you. But there's in our midst somebody that's been taking care of the members for a very long time, all this year and many years prior to. When we go to the governor's back way, to the governor's mansion, or not to the mansion, but up to the Capitol, he's there. This is none other than Trooper Eric Pinson. Trooper Eric Pinson is in the gallery up here. Now, let me tell you a little bit about him. Trooper Eric Pinson has distinguished himself through 30 years of service. 30 years, guys, to the state of Tennessee. Trooper Pinson has earned awards from his crash detail investigation and DUI enforcement.
Representative Warner, you're next.
Can I yield back to Mr. Towns, Representative Towns?
Just pass your microphone.
You're very kind. Appreciate that. He enforced during the time with the Highway Patrol. Trooper Pinson was honored by the Mothers Against Drunk Driving for his relentless effort in combating impaired driving. Trooper Pinson has worked hand in hand with the U.S. Marshals to bring dangerous fugitives into custody and played an integral role in arresting domestic terrorists. Coincidentally, today marks his 30th anniversary of his distinguished career and also the 32nd anniversary of his marriage to his lovely wife, Lucinda. 32 and 30, give it up. Eric and Lucinda have 2 children. For that, we're always indebted to you. He's not retiring, so he will be here for a while, so you have an opportunity to let him know just how much you love him and what you've done for the state of Tennessee. Thank you very much, member. Thank you as well.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to say something about Kim Cox. Kim, you know, in bodies like this, you can identify the glue. You know, the glue that bonds us all together. And Kim Cox was that person. No matter what your party was, your affiliation, your ideology, Kim Cox was the glue. And I truly appreciate her for being that glue. Every session, me and Kim have our own meeting right there in that corner, every single session without fail. But the thing about Kim is this: if you were ever feeling down, Kim has that energy that will lift your spirit up. And I truly appreciate her for that. And I used to feed her too. So she would come up to the East Wing because we're the only ones that cook in the building. But I would always make sure that Kim had a plate or could get something to eat too. Kim, we love you, baby. We'll miss you.
Representative Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to honor my oldest grandchild, Nora Lambert. Nora was just up here a couple of weeks ago in the chamber. And this coming Saturday, she will be the grand old age of 11. So just wanted to honor her today. Thank you.
Representative Pearson.
Sign it. Thank you, Speaker. I too, Ms. Kim, you have been extraordinary and have helped to make my experience, Oceana's experience, so much better. And you not being in the clerk's office, helping us to understand these processes is really going to be a loss. But thank you for the institutional knowledge and the care and compassion with which you have served. It is going to be sorely missed and is so sorely needed. And so just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope you really do enjoy your retirement. The second thing is in our family, we got some birthdays coming up to my nephew, Smiley, and to my cousins, Jamise and Jordan, wishing them a happy birthday. And to District 86, just thank you all for your engagement, participation, and to this entire movement for justice rooted in love, for never giving up, never giving in, and never quitting on the movement. Thank you.
Representative Dixie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hopefully this will be our last day here, so I want to try to get this in because we have some birthdays over the weekend. On Saturday is my brother Jeff Dixie's birthday, and it's also Trooper Angie Crawford's birthday on Saturday as well. But last but not least, on Sunday is my assistant Alicia Downer's birthday, so I want to wish them all a happy birthday. And hopefully we will get to celebrate at some point today, but we'll start by celebrating with the last day of session. Thank you.
Representative Eldridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members, I want to take this opportunity to recognize and honor my assistant, Doris Barnes. Doris has been with me since day one down here, and even though we come from a lot of pretty much measured political background differences, Doris has taken great care of me. She's taken great care of the people that I represent, which is the most important thing. And Doris will be leaving at the end of this year. She's moving out to New Mexico to spend some time with her family and her grandbabies. And I just want to say, Doris, thank you.
Representative Hemmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had a conversation a few weeks ago with our Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Trotter here, and he was telling me that this September it'll be his 50th year of public service. And since we won't be here, I thought it'd be worthy of honoring him for his many contributions.
Representative Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In a moment, I'm going to ask everyone if they would rise for a moment of silence. But first, I want to take a second and apologize to my colleague from Shelby County. On yesterday, I got some really rough news, and it caught me off guard, and I let my emotions get to me. But I wanted to ask everyone to rise. On yesterday, while we were starting off session at around 9, one of my best friends over 17 years was in the middle of helping someone change their tire. He was being a good Samaritan, and someone shot him and killed him. And so he's from Memphis, but of course this happened in another state. And so I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge him and recognize his family as well. And so to Kenny and everyone around that loved him. So if you would just take a moment of silence with me. Thank you. Thank you, members.
Representative Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, I'd like to honor Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery. They were named #1 distillery in Travel and Leisure magazine, and they welcome saints, sinners, and hypocrites alike. Thank you.
Representative Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have a member who's having a birthday tomorrow, and hopefully we will not be here. And I wanted to mention it while we were here, but Representative Susan Lynn will be having a big one. She's got a big one coming up tomorrow. That's right. She's turning 39 tomorrow. So happy birthday to Susan.
Representative Alexander.
Excuse me. Thank you. I would like to rise in honor of my high school, Science Hill High School, who was just ranked 10th in U.S. World Report. This high school has 2,400 kids. 55% of them have taken at least one AP class. They have a 30% poverty level. They're doing things right, and I'm very proud of them. They've come from 20th to 10th on that chart in 3 years. So let's give them a round of applause, please.
Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, let me thank you for your emails and support for my assistant, Ms. Ann Sharfner. She was out on medical leave for a while, but she is back now in office. So if we will, let's welcome Ann Sharfner back to work today, everybody.
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I indicated in my remarks earlier, I just wanted to welcome my daughters, or my pages today. Ella is right here. She's a junior in school, and my freshman, Addie, is my pages today. And also my wife was here, but if you all would just send a little prayer up for her. She's heading to Evansville, where her father is. Her father's not doing well, and he went to the hospital last night. So if you would, just say a little prayer for him. That he makes a good recovery. But Ella and Addie, I love that you're here. See you. Thank you, Mr.
Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to welcome and honor the people who have come throughout this session in the galleries, who have got babysitters, who have missed appointments, who have had to rearrange their schedule to be here and bear witness and challenge what is happening in this building. Your presence means the difference to so many of us in this building. Ida B. Wells said that the way to right wrongs is to shine the light of truth upon them. And that's what you do every single day. And know this, that we stand with you, and the Vice President of the United States stands with you. Just last night, the Vice President of the United States shared a message that arming teachers is not the solution. We know it actually works. Universal background checks, red flag laws, safe storage, and assault weapons ban. Shame on extremists in the Tennessee legislature for failing to protect our children. That is a message from the Vice President of the United States, who's calling out what is happening and who is standing in solidarity with you all. So power to the people. This is your house. And no matter how many troopers they put in here, no matter how many ticket systems they have, this will always forever be the people's house of Tennessee. Power to you all.
That's the first warning of the gallery. That was early, but that's your first. The next, you're gone. Representative Lynn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you all for recognizing my birthday. I thought we'd be gone by now. I was hoping we would. But I want to say a big happy birthday to my granddaughter, Charlotte. She will be 11 years old on Sunday. I cannot believe it. Charlotte, I love you. Happy birthday.
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to rise. My granddaughter will have her birthday this Saturday. She will be 2 years old, and so I'm incredibly grateful and blessed. But I also wanted to say that I've been very honored by everyone in this building who's welcomed me into this first term, and I am very grateful for all of the time and attention that you have invested in me so that I can do a better job for my community. So thank you very much.
Representative Johnson and Knox.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to welcome Anna Gordon, Representative McKenzie's Unminds intern up there. I don't think I've had an intern that's been able to do such amazing in-depth research. So I just commend her so much for the great research that she's done and the hard work that she's done here for us. Thank you, Anna.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Speaker. And I want to thank the members for the prayers and the support that you've shown to the Orange Mound community, the oldest such community in the United States, developed by and for African Americans. The children and the families still have a great deal of trauma, still mourning the loss of 2 lives and the wounding of several young people, but your support means a lot to them. They do watch us on the broadcast, and I just want to thank you all for what you've done to help them to manage through this time. Thank you.
Representative Pearson.
Thank you. I just felt to mention there's a school here from Memphis, St. Mary's. They're out there who brought a group of students into the Capitol today to see how things are going. Oh, they are up here? Okay. If they're here, fantastic. But just please welcome St. Mary's School from Memphis to the Capitol.
Representative Chaplain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And if members, if you would please rise. On Tuesday, our country lost a hero. A U.S. Marine was killed during an operation at Camp Pendleton in California. So if we could please take a moment of silence for that warrior and his family. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members.
Thank you. Welcome and honoring. Representative Sparks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, speaking of power to the people are welcome to come out to World Outreach Church tomorrow for the Culture and Christianity Conference 2024. Speakers include Kirk Cameron, Kaylee McEnany, Brandon Tatum, Alan Jackson, Seth Gruber, and our own John DeBerry. So power to the people, show up at Christianity Culture Conference World Outreach Church. You go to wochurch.org for more information. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order, Mr. Clark.
Introduction to resolutions.
Leader Lamberth, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that all resolutions properly filed be introduced pursuant to Rule number 17 and placed on the consent calendar, referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clark.
Senate joint resolutions congratulatory and memorializing.
Leader Lamberth, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that all Senate joint resolutions congratulatory and memorializing allowing that S be placed on the consent calendar pursuant to Rule number 17.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clark.
Resolutions lying over.
Leader Lamberth, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that all resolutions lying over be referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clark.
Introduction to bills, Senate bills on first consideration, Senate bills on second consideration, House bills on second consideration, petitions, memorials, reports of standing committees, reports of select committees, calendars. Mr. Speaker, the House has a consent calendar.
Chairman Zachary, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move passage to the consent calendar on third and final consideration. Keep with Rule 50.
Gentleman moves passage of the consent calendar, probably seconded. Mr. Clark, any objections been filed?
Mr. Speaker, no objections filed.
Anyone seeking recognition on the consent calendar? Seeing none, we're voting on the consent calendar. All members in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Vote aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 95, no nays, one present. I voted.
Having received a constitutional majority, I declare the consent calendar passed without objection. The most reconsidered is tabled. Leader Lamberth, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to take up today's message calendar.
Mr. Clark.
Mr. Speaker, House message calendar dated for today. First item, House Bill 351 by Representative Hardaway relative to industrial development. Mr. Speaker, on April 24, 2024, the Senate substituted House Bill 351 for Senate Bill 1260, adopted Amendment 2, and passed House Bill 351 as amended.
Representative Hardaway, you're recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. I move to concur in Senate Amendment number 2. The only thing that it does is allow the Government Operations Committee to receive a report on or before January 31st, 2028. And it will review the Industrial Development Corporation and hopefully decide that the effectiveness and efficiencies achieved are worth moving around the state. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I move to concur in Senate Amendment number 2.
Representative Hardaway moves to concur in Senate Amendment number 2, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Amendment number 2 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 95, one nay.
Senate Amendment number 2, having received constitutional majority, I hereby declare concurred in without objection. The most reconsidered table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1046 by Chairman Vaughn, relative to Tennessee Housing Development Agency. Mr. Speaker, on April 24, 2024, the Senate substituted House Bill 1046 for Senate Bill 1046, adopted Amendment 2, and passed House Bill 1046 as amended.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, you know that it is within my nature to not concur. But in this case, I must say, yes, I concur with Senate Amendment number 2.
I cannot believe what I hear. Chairman Vaughn moves to concur in Senate Amendment number 2, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Chairman Clemens. Chairman, nope. Sure. Chairman Vaughn, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I neglected to give the explanation of what the changes were. It was a typographical error on our version. We had omitted chapter 4 in front of 2 places in subsection B1. And so what it did was we had Title 56, Chapter 4, Title 67, and we omitted a Chapter 4. That was added in. Part 20 or Title 67, then we added another Chapter 4 in, which did not make it. And so it was strictly a technical correction.
Clemens, you good?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I just wanted to compliment our chairman here on his fashionable eyewear. Before I ask him a question, can you remind us specifically what this bill is, just so everybody knows?
Chairman Vaughn.
Well, thank you, Chairman Clemens. Yes, this is the Tennessee Rural and Workforce Housing Act. It was the rural tax credits for affordable housing. And it cleaned up, like I said, some technical correction that didn't make it into our, we didn't catch before it came on here. And so this is the way we're cleaning it up. And Mr. Speaker, I turn 62 years old yet next week. So I'm getting old and soft and mature, as you can tell.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Amendment number 2 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 94, no nays, 1 present, not voting.
Senate Amendment number 2, having received constitutional majority, everybody clerk concurred in without objection. Most reconsidered table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2002 by Chairman Farmer, relative to judicial districts. Mr. Speaker, on April 24th, 2024, the Senate substituted House Bill 2002 for Senate Bill 2517, adopted Amendment 2, and passed House Bill 2002 as amended.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this is the bill that reallocated the judicial resources out of the 30th Judicial District up into the 19th over to the 4th. The Senate adopted our House bill, but they had an amendment that came out of their Judiciary Committee that said, it's just very short, said effective July 1st, 2024, local rules shall address any identifiable backlog within the 30th Judicial District by appropriately distributing cases pursuant to Supreme Rule Court 11. That just means they're going to be sure that the case load is distributed evenly. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I move to concur in Senate Amendment number 2.
Chairman Farmer moves to concur in Senate Amendment number 2. Discussion on the amendment. Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Speaker. To the sponsor, I'm not sure what they're doing. Again, you said make sure that the caseload is even. Is that within a district or statewide? with all of the judicial districts.
Chairman Farmer.
And thank you, Representative Hardaway. That's within the 30th Judicial District only.
Representative Hardaway.
All right. And the evening out the caseload is fine, but will it address the backlog or the additional pressure and the additional caseload that will go on the remaining judiciary?
Chairman Farmer.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Senator Taylor put this on. So I think the intent was, according to that rule, and I haven't looked at it specifically in a while, but I believe that would require them to, number one, be sure that the caseload is distributed, and number two, identify the number of cases as well. So that may help us get to the bottom of some things that we've been talking about, sir.
Representative Hardaway.
And will the comptroller play a role in this, either in that very focused effort on evening the caseload, or will he do a complete weighted caseload study for all of the districts, judicial districts?
Chairman Farmer.
And Representative Hardaway, I think that's something we probably need to ask and speak with the comptroller about. This has nothing to do with the comptroller. This is the Supreme Court Rule 11. It's got an internal judiciary type. You know, the judiciary is controlled underneath the Supreme Court. They answer to them, the AOC and such. But that's something we need to talk to the comptroller about. That may require some funding as well. But I'd be happy to be a part of that when we come back into session next year.
Representative Hardaway.
And of course, I appreciate your support and your forthrightness as usual. The judicial assistants, did the amendment address the judicial assistants and evening in fitting them within that formula for evening out the caseloads?
Chairman Farmer.
If I understand you correctly, the judicial assistants are staying, the two there are staying in the 30th Judicial District. This doesn't address any of the broader question that Leader Camper had about assigning a judicial assistant to every judge across the state. That's something I've gave my word that I'm gonna help with next year, if at all possible.
Representative Hardaway.
All right, I appreciate that, and that might be the very first bill I file. Thank you for being so open about everything, but if you decide to give those judges up, send them back to Shelby County. We need them. Thank you, Speaker.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Farmer, when we talked before, the bill included 2 judge positions. Did the amendment affect that? Is it 2 or is it criminal and is it 1? What was the final decision on that?
Chairman Farmer.
The final decision was the Senate concurred with the House version of the bill, moving both judges, one to the 19th and one to the 4th Judicial District.
Leader Camper.
Thank you. Okay, so I won't be able to support your bill. Again, we talked about the comptroller report he mentioned earlier, and prayerfully we will get that so that we can do a real judicial weighted caseload study. And I appreciate your commitment to support it next year if the data proves that we need those judges there and those assistants. So thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative.
Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Speaker. And sponsor, I won't be able to support this legislation either with the changes, even with the changes. I mean, taking away 2 judges from Shelby County and from the 30th Judicial District is not a good idea, but I think it's even a poor policy decision when we have the opportunity as a legislative body to increase the amount of judges that are needed in areas that we say they're needed in, and that would require an amendment to the budget. There's a process to ensure that places that need judges are able to get access to them without removing other counties' judges. And there's been no judge and no folks in our district or in Shelby County that have requested that we actually need fewer judges to try the amount of cases that we currently have. And so again, and what I can appreciate out of the change is there's going to be more study in association with Supreme Court Rule 11 about the distribution of cases. That is finding out whether or not there's a problem before we create a solution. But the challenge with the legislation is it's already saying, here is the solution. Now go see what the problem is and how you're going to figure out how to work it out. And initially, we talked about the research not including the last 4 years. There's just a way that I believe this should be done that did not include the voices of people in Shelby County, that did not have the most accurate or up-to-date information to make such a substantial change to the way our judicial makeup is going, whether that be with one judge or whether that be with two judges due to the vacancy and then due to the appointment to the Supreme Court. And so because this is a policy decision that's been made without the adequate research, without the adequate information, I cannot support this. And I believe that it is going to hurt and it is going to harm our judicial processing to make sure that people are getting fair and speedy treatment when it comes to the judicial system. Thank you, Speaker and sponsor.
Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move previous question.
Previous question be called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Amendment number 2, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 69, 25 nays.
Senate Amendment number 2, having received the constitutional majority, hereby declare concurred in without objection. Most reconsidered table. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2118 by Representative Fritz relative to energy. Mr. Speaker, on April 24, 2024, the Senate substituted House Bill 2118 for Senate Bill 2539, adopted Amendment 2, and passed House Bill 2118 as amended.
Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment to 2118 simply corrects a clerical error that we had in the bill. The Senate rewrote that so that each of the 3 designees from the public on the State Energy Policy Advisory Council are written in specifically in the sections now. As you recall, this bill restructures and hybridizes between what was in current code for the State Energy Policy Advisory Council and what Governor Lee's office had done with Executive Order 101. With that, I would move to concur with Senate Amendment number 2, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Fritz moves to concur in Senate Amendment number 2. Properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Amendment number 2, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 71, 21 nays.
Senate Amendment number 2, having received the constitutional majority, hereby declare concurred in without objection. The most reconsidered table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2677 by Chairman White relative to county officers. Mr. Speaker, on April 24, 2024, the Senate substituted House Bill 2677 for Senate Bill 2897, adopted Amendment 1, and passed House Bill 2677 as amended.
Chairman White, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to concur with Senate Amendment number 1. And members, this particular legislation was dealing with our county commissioners and the requirement to take CTAS training while they're in office 8 hours each year. It came back from the Senate. We did remove the requirement that the county reimburse the $600. They can if they desire, but it's not a requirement of the bill. And the second part is that we did take out where they could not run again if they did not do this training. That may be a bigger issue down the road. So we remove those 2 things, but besides that, the bill stays intact. And with that, I remove my motion, renew my motion.
Move to concur.
I move to concur.
Chairman White moves to concur in Senate Amendment number 1. Properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chairman White, did I understand you to say that what's been removed in the Senate amendment, county commissioner, if they do not take this particular training, they cannot run for public office? Did I understand you to say that?
Chairman White.
We had that in our original version in the House, but they removed that in the Senate. There may be a constitutional issue to do that, so we just took it out so that it is not in there.
Representative Miller.
Thank you.
All right, further discussion. Representative Doggett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And so with this, the only way that they're going to be able to get these funds are if they attend the training, much like other training supplements that we give occupations across the state. This is one that they would have to attend the training in order to get these monies. Is that correct?
Chairman White.
Yeah, if the county, like with the Senate version, we did remove the requirement to give them that stipend, but the county can still do that. But they can take this online, or they can go to the actual training. There's multiple ways they can do this training, but yes.
All right. Representative Pearson.
Sorry, thank you. Listen to Chair Duggan's comment. So if someone does expend money to go and do this training that we're mandating, their county doesn't have to reimburse them for any of their cost of doing this mandatory training?
Chairman White.
Yes, no, there is no cost to this training. CTAS, County Technical Advisory Service, there is no cost to it. We just had in our version that if they did spend 8 hours doing that the county would reimburse them. We're making that optional to the county. There is no cost to the commissioner for doing this.
Representative Pearson.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Amendment number 1, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 64, 30 nays, 2 present, not voting.
Senate Amendment number 1 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare it concurred in without objection. The motion for series tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2774 by Representative McCalman, relative to immigration. Mr. Speaker, on April 24, 2024, the Senate substituted House Bill 2774 for Senate Bill 2158, adopted Amendment 2, and passed House Bill 2774 as amended.
Representative McCalman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, what this amendment did in the Senate was add in a provision that would remove people who are here on a travel visa or who have a foreign passport from being included in the report, as well as homeless individuals not carrying documentation that are known and only removed if known by local law enforcement. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I move to concur in Senate Amendment number 2.
Representative McCalman moves to concur in Senate Amendment number 2. Probably seconded. Any discussion? Representative Barrett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? We're on the board. All those in favor of previous question, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member vote, as anyone wish to change their vote? Previous question prevails. We're voting. Oh, Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Speaker, that vote was ayes 72, 21 nays.
Previous question prevails. We're voting. All those in favor, Senate Member 2, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Let the journal reflect. Representative Harris is excused. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 73, 23 nays.
Senate Amendment number 2, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare concurred in without objection. The most for series table. Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to take up today's regular calendar.
Proper motion, probably seconded. Any objection? Without objection, so ordered. Mr. Clerk, call first bill.
House Bill 692 by Representative Parkinson, relative to education. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1266.
Representative Parkinson moves to substitute and conform Senate Bill 1266, probably seconded with objection. So ordered. Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1266 on third and final consideration.
Representative Parkinson moves passage of Senate Bill 1266 on third and final consideration by second. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Amendment 3 by Chairman White. Mr. Speaker, it's the same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're going to withdraw. We're going to withdraw this amendment.
Without objection, amendment number 3. There's objection. There's objection. Chairman White.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Had miscommunication. We're going to roll this amendment to the Hill.
Without objection, roll to the Hill. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 4 by Representative Parkinson. Mr. Speaker, it was timely filed.
Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 4 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 5 by Representative Parkinson. Mr. Speaker, it was timely filed.
Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to roll to the Hill.
Without objection, roll to the Hill. Call next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 6 by Representative Parkinson. Mr. Speaker, this one was not timely filed.
Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move for consideration. This amendment came from the Department of Education, and it allows the charter schools to appeal should an LEA decide to decline their application for charter. And I hope that you guys will adopt the amendment with me. Move to consider.
You've heard the motion, probably seconded. We're voting for consideration of amendment number 6. All those in favor of considering amendment number 6, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 24, 68 nays.
In accordance with Rule 6B, having failed to receive necessary 2/3 vote, the motion consider amendment number 6 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brings the body back to item 3, but Chairman White, Mr. Speaker, it was timely filed.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, amendment number 3 is basically the Senate version that we would like to see on this. This is, we've had the Achievement School District for 10 years. We are phasing that out over these 10 years. But we still, the federal government requires us to have a intervention for our priority schools. And so what this particular bill does is continues to put in place the process for not only the phase out, but to continue to have intervention for our priority schools, where they can either then, and when they phase out, go back into the local LEA and or appeal to the Charter Commission and go into a Charter Commission. And with that, Mr. Speaker, and I'll also defer to, if I may, for further explanation to Representative Pickey. He also would like to add a comment.
I think we're good right now. I'm trying to figure out what you want to do with that amendment, though.
Okay, we want to. With that explanation, I would like to add that amendment to the bill. Move for adoption. Move for adoption.
Can you approach it? I think we have a question at the clerk. Can you? Chairman White.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to move this amendment to the Hill.
Without objection, roll to the Hill. Representative Parkinson. Representative Parkinson.
Amendment 5 by Representative Parkinson.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to roll my amendment to the Hill.
There's objection. We're on the board. A yes vote is to roll it to the Hill. A no vote would be not to allow it to roll to the Hill. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 23, 71 nays.
Motion does not roll to the hill. Representative Parkinson, you're recognized on Amendment 5.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this amendment rewrites the bill. And what's being attempted here is the recreation of the Achievement School District almost as it is right now. The Department of Education and the charter organization, the charter lobbyists, have basically attempted to hijack this bill. And their attempt to hijack this bill is reflected in the amendment that the chairman is trying to add to the bill. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm sadly disappointed because I've worked hard, honestly, for about 10 years on getting this right so that we can remove or get rid of the Achievement School District. Here's the reason why we want to get rid of the Achievement School District. And I hope that every member will listen to me. And I hope that every member will listen openly, and not from a partisan standpoint because I'm standing up here. We have spent $1.5 billion on the failed Achievement School District. $1.5 billion of taxpayer dollars that have been wasted on the failed experiment of the Achievement School District. I want you to let that sink in because many of us run on being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. Many of us run on lesser government, but with the Achievement School District, we have 2 state-run school districts, the Achievement School District and the Charter Commission. That is not smaller government. Now, I would challenge any of you, if you were to invest in a company and you were only spending $1,000 of your own personal money per year, and every year they come with this rosy story that it's going to work, it's getting better, it's doing better, and you know that the company is dismal and it's a failure, you would not even continue to invest that $1,000 of your own personal money for even 2 years of this failed investment with no return on that investment. But we've invested right at $1.5 billion of taxpayer dollars, of the taxpayers' money, $1.5 billion in this failed experiment. And we know we wouldn't do it with our own personal money. This is why I'm so passionate about that. These children have been failed. This amendment that's being attempted to put on here will just change the name of the Achievement School District to the LCSS, the Local Collective for Failed Schools, or for whatever they call it. It's just simply a name change. And this amendment also allows expansion of grades for schools that are already in the bottom 5%. So if you got a school that is the worst school in the entire state, this amendment that they're trying to put on here will allow that school to increase its grades. Who does that? Who would expand a business that is failing? None of us would do that. And so I hope that you will really, really take this in consideration from a stewardship position in regards to you guarding the dollars that our taxpayers pay. Imagine what we can do with $1.5 billion. We've done this for 14 years now. 14 years, and it's been guarded, and it's been kept, and it's been hugged and loved on by the lobbyists outside of these doors to continue to fail our children. And Mr. Speaker, with that, what am I supposed to say? I move adoption of Amendment 5.
Representative Parkinson moves adoption of Amendment number 5. Any discussion on the amendment? Representative Pickey, you're recognized.
Pass.
Pass. Chairman White, you're recognized.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. And as I've been working with, I really want to stand up here and give my friend from Shelby County the credit, because he has been working on this for a while. But the Achievement School District, we started in Tennessee 10 years ago to address our schools in the bottom 5%. Why? Because we're required to by federal law. And all we're trying to do in this, and so he says a lot of things that I agree with, but what we're trying to do in this process, we've got to go through the process or we will be in violation of federal law. So with this amendment number 3 that I wrote to the Hill, it keeps that process in place. We've got another year and we're still working on it. We're going to phase it out. But what the ASD has done for our states, especially most of the ASDs, if not all but one, are in my community of Memphis. It has encouraged the local LEA to also put in place some interventions, and it has worked. It's many of these students who come to these schools where the ASD is, they have many, many challenges, low economics, a lot of poverty, and a lot of issues, and it's very hard to turn things around. We want to go in a different process going forward, but to move out of the ASD that we're in, we need to go out in a process that is working, and that's what amendment number 3 is trying to do. We're going to phase it out, but we've still got to have a process to do so, and that's why I appreciate him. He's worked on this for a long time. I don't disagree with a lot of things, but amendment number 3 gives us a process that is smoother, works it out. Thank you.
We're actually on amendment number 5. Chairman White.
Sir. Yes, sir. So that is why I am objecting to amendment number 5.
All right. Any further discussion? Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So we are getting rid of the Achievement School District under this amendment number 5. What's not being said is this bill came through the committee process. It came through the subcommittee of education. It came through the full committee of education, and members voted for it, and it passed out. And then when we get to the House floor, I've done everything asked of me. I was asked to hold this bill on the House floor until the voucher bill either passed or failed. This is the language in the voucher bill that was part of the dangling of the carrot of the voucher bill to get people to vote for the voucher bill. Let me explain something to you, and y'all forgive me if I don't want to come off brash, but I am passionate. The voucher bill was the last stand for these ed reform folks. And many of us breathed a sigh of relief when that voucher bill was either dead, but regardless of the side you're on, everybody breathed a sigh of relief when we finally disposed of the voucher bill. But now, since the voucher bill is gone, look at the chessboard. The charter lobbyist now has risen up because there's a void of the vouchers, so it leaves the charter folks the only one standing. And so their goal is to hijack this bill and to take it over so that they can get everything that they want in all of our districts. And I want you to think about that. Remember the plan. First, it was limited charters. Then they expanded charters. Then it was limited vouchers. And they expanded vouchers into all of our districts. $1.5 billion of your district's taxpayer dollars have been spent on this failed achievement school district, and they are trying to keep it in place under a different name. And so I hope that you will consider your constituents, consider your taxpayer dollars, consider the whole game plan that came into fruition when they first said, no, we're only going to have charter schools in Shelby County. And then it was Davidson County. Then it was Knox County. Then it was Hamilton County. Then it was statewide. Consider the plan. We're only going to have vouchers in Shelby County. Then it was Shelby and Davidson County. Then it was statewide. That's the strategy. This bill reins it in, keeps them in a posture where the local districts, please hear this. This bill keeps it in a posture where the local districts decide how they are going to turn their schools around without giving free will and free play and expansion to these charter lobbyists for what they want to do with all of our schools. And with that, Mr. Speaker, renew my motion.
Representative Parkinson renews his motion on amendment number 5. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of adopting amendment number 5, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 30, 56 nays, one present, not voting.
Amendment number 5 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brings us back to Amendment 3 by Chairman White, and it's the same as the Senate amendment.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of amendment number 3.
Chairman White.
Okay, thank you. I get it right in a second. I move to withdraw amendment number 3, same as the Senate amendment.
Without objection, amendment number 3 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So let's walk through this. For 15 years, since the Race to the Top legislation was passed, we've had this achievement school district. And then we in order for charter schools to be able to expand, we created the Charter Commission, so that when these charter schools are denied by your LEA, they can then appeal and receive a charter school in your district. Now we passed this legislation through, obviously in a different form, through the Education Committee that would create the Tennessee Education Achievement Portal that would put all of the resources for school turnaround into this portal, along with the resources needed for any schools in our school district. But now with this amendment on here, the posture that this bill is in, it allows the Department of Education, once again, to be at the head of this idea of this failed achievement school district. And so I want to thank everybody that supported this bill. And with that, Mr. Speaker, they got me messed up. Take the bill off notice. No, I don't want to hold it off the clerk's desk. I want it off notice.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm gonna ask that you hold this on the clerk's desk.
Without objection, held on the clerk's desk. Too late. Too late. Call it next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Senate Joint Resolution 1620 by Leader Camper.
Leader Camper, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to latest on the table.
Held.
I mean, on the desk.
Hold. Yep. Without objection. Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. I move that we take up Wednesday, April excuse me, Thursday, hang on just a moment.
Thursday.
All right, we've got it now. Mr. Speaker, I move that we take up Thursday, April 18th calendar at this time.
Proper motion, proper seconded. Without objection, so ordered. Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I move that we roll House Bill 2419 by Representative Barrett to the heel of Wednesday, April the 17th calendar.
Without objection, so ordered. Call it first. Call it first bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, on that calendar, the House is ready for item 18. Item 18, House Bill 2328 by Representative Freeman relative to health. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk. Mr. Speaker, once again, that is the calendar dated for Thursday, April 18th, and this is item 18.
Representative Freeman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute conform to Senate Bill 2004.
Representative Freeman moves substitute conform to Senate Bill 2004, probably seconded without objection. So ordered. Representative Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 2004 on third and final consideration.
Representative Freeman moves passage of Senate Bill 2004 on third and final consideration, probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, call it First Amendment.
House Health Committee Amendment number 1, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Terry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Freeman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a simple bill. It adds licensed professional counselors, marriage and family therapists, and clinical pastoral therapists to the definition of medical practitioners under Title 63. And with that, I renew my motion.
Representative Freeman renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Bill 2004 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 89, no nays, 3 present, not voted.
Senate Bill 2004 having received a constitutional majority, I declare passed without objection. Most read series table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brings the body to item 26. Item 26, House Bill 1229 by Representative Hemmer relative to real property. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Hemmer, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1137.
Representative Hemmer moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1137, properly seconded without objection. So ordered. Representative Hemmer.
Mr. Speaker, I move passage of Senate Bill 1137 on third and final consideration.
Representative Hemmer moves passage of Senate Bill 1137 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Local Government Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Crawford moves adoption of Committee Amendment number 1. Probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of Committee Amendment adopting number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Hemmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This permissive legislation will help increase attainable housing options for Tennessee's workforce by enabling local governments across Tennessee to provide credit support bonds issued by industrial development boards. Local governing bodies that choose to utilize this option can establish a framework and use proceeds from the bonds to partner with the private sector on projects focused on attainable workforce housing. By utilizing this new tool in the toolbox, our communities can attract private capital and create the opportunity for public-private partnerships to address the growing housing crisis we face in Tennessee. This legislation doesn't reinvent the wheel, but simply models programs from other states that have seen significant success in the cities that choose to take this route. I appreciate the work from TML and the Comptroller's Office on this amended version that ensures guardrails through a feasibility study. And thank also to the Property Planning Sub-Chair for co-sponsoring this legislation. It was complementary to the infrastructure bill that we passed last week. With that, I renew my motion.
Representative Hemmer renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1137 as amended vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 68, 20 nays, 5 present, not voting.
Senate Bill 1137 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. The most reconsidered table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brings us to item 76. Item 76, Senate Bill 2134 by Representative Freeman relative to the social work licensure compact. Mr. Speaker, the body is already substituted and conformed to the Senate bill.
Representative Freeman, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 2134 on third and final consideration.
Representative Freeman renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 2134 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 89, 2 nays.
Senate Bill 2134 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed by objection. The most reconsidered table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk. Ms. Clerk, call up next bill.
Item 81, House Bill 2959 by Representative Hardaway relative to incarcerated parents. Mr. Speaker, Senate bill is on the desk.
Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to roll one space.
No second. Representative Hardaway, you're recognized. Let's go. Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2879.
Representative Hardaway moves substitute and conform Senate Bill 2879 without objection. So ordered. Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 2879.
Representative Hardaway moves passage of Senate Bill 2879 on third and final consideration by second. Ms. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Representative Hardaway, you're recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. I renew my motion, but also want to express my appreciation to Chairman Whitson, who has guided this bill through every committee. There was always something that kept me away from it. With that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Representative Hardaway renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate Representative Whitson's hard work.
Any Representative Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I call for the previous question.
Previous question being called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 2879 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 81, 12 nays.
Senate Bill 2879 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed by objection. Most reconsidered table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the body is ready for item 10 on Wednesday's calendar. Item 10 that got rolled to the heel of this calendar, House Bill 2623 by Chairman Carr relative to attainable housing. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Chairman Carr, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker, I move to substitute and conform to House Senate Bill 2496.
Chairman Carr moves substitute and conform Senate Bill 2496 by second without objection. So ordered. Chairman Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 2496 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Carr moves passage of Senate Bill 2496 on third and final consideration. By second, Mr. Clerk, call for First Amendment.
House Local Government Committee Amendment Number 1, same as Senate Amendment Number 1.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same as Senate Amendment 1, move to withdraw.
Without objection, Amendment Number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Carr, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill here just tries to give cities and towns another tool to increase attainable housing availability. And these incentives would let the planning commissions reduce the number of required parking spaces or the setback requirements, or allow additional floors or modifying density requirements for certain houses without having to go through the zoning of appeals every time. It just allows the planning commission to do that. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chairman Carr renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Bill 2496, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 69, 23 nays, 1 present, not voting.
Senate Bill 2496, having received the constitutional majority, hereby declare passed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is tabled. Members, we're working on a couple of messages. We are going to bounce, I believe, one back to the Senate. We are going to appoint 2 conference committees, and then we'll take a break to allow the various conference committees to meet. So just hold on for a few minutes, and we'll get this all before us. Mr. Trooper, please clear them out. Clear them out too. Are you? Mr. Clerk, call up the first message, please.
Mr. Speaker, we have a message from the Senate on Senate Bill 2782. Mr. Speaker, I'm directed to transmit to the House Senate Bill 2782, the Senate non-concurred in House Amendment 1. Mr. Speaker, that's 2782 relative to prohibited medical procedures.
Representative Ritchie, you're recognized. Representative Ritchie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that we refuse to recede from our action and adopted amendment number 2.
Without objection, we refuse to recede. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
Senate Bill 2133 by Representative Cochran. That's from Senate. Mr. Speaker, I'm directed to transmit to the House Senate Bill 2133, the Senate non-concurred in House Amendment number 1.
Representative Cochran, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that we refuse to recede from our action in adopting amendment number 1.
Without objection, we refuse to recede. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
Senate Bill 1284 by Chairman Powers. Message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I'm directed to transmit to the House Senate Bill 1284. The Senate refused to receive from his action and non-concurring in House Amendment number 2. The Speaker appointed a conference committee composed of Senators Bailey, Roberts, and Yarborough.
Representative Powers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to accede to the request of the Senate and ask that a conference committee be appointed to confer with a like committee from the Senate to resolve the differences between the two bodies.
Representative Powers moves to accede to request of the Senate and asks that a conference committee be appointed to confer with a like committee from the Senate to resolve the differences between the two bodies. Properly seconded. Without objection, the motion carries. I appoint the following members: Representative Powers, Representative Farmer, Representative Zachary, and Representative Powell. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
Senate Bill 191 by Chairman Sapicki. Message from Senate, Mr. Speaker, I'm directed to transmit to the House Senate Bill 191. The Senate refused to receive for his action non-concurring in House Amendment number 1. The Speaker appointed a conference committee composed of Senators Lamar, Lowe, Lundberg, Roberts, and Taylor.
Representative Sapicki, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to accede to the request of the Senate and ask that a conference committee be appointed to confer with a like committee from the Senate to resolve the differences between the two bodies.
Representative Sapicki moves to accede to the request of the Senate and asks that a conference committee be appointed to confer with a like committee from the Senate to resolve the differences between the two bodies. Properly seconded. Chairman Clemens? Oh, all right. Without objection, the motion carries. I appoint the following members: Representative Sapicki, Representative Moody, Representative Lafferty, and Representative Love. Let the journal reflect Representative Dixie and Hawk are excused. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, an announcement for the schedule announcement. The House Bill 2326 Conference Committee will meet at noon in House Hearing Room 1. The Senate Bill 191 Conference Committee will meet at 12:30 in House Hearing Room 1.
Lear Lambert.
Thank you, Speaker. With that, I move that we stand in recess until 1 p.m. today.
Without objection, we're in recess till 1 p.m.